Hello everyone, this is Tyler, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a quick Python tutorial. This is for kind of tutorial, kind of devlog kind of style video, where I'm going to talk about some code, and basically teach you what it all does, and why you need all of it. The game I'm trying to make is a turn-based combat style, kind of like Final Fantasy, like style, you guess, turn-based RPG kind of thing. So today I'm going to go over how you would make this window, and it's not showing up. I just looked at it. So this window here. For some reason it isn't being shown. Well, now it's being shown, but I don't know. If not, I'll get an image up of it. So yeah, let's go for it. At the start of any Pygame module, you're going to want to put import Pygame. That imports all of the different, well, basically the entire module of Pygame and the things you will need to make a Pygame. After that, you do pygame.init. What the start code, like, it's what makes the game run, very much. It's the thing that makes the code actually work. We'll look at that later, the clock and the FPS one. But first, we get into the game window. This is the actual game window itself that you'll use to play the game off. Code you need, this code here. The bottom panel bit I'll explain later when we get to it, but basically all you need is screen width, and you give that a number depending on obviously the size of your screen and how big you want it to be, and screen height, how obviously tall it is. The plus bottom panel I'll also get to explain later when I get to the actual bottom panel bit. Under that, this is how you display the actual screen, with being screen equal pygame.display .set mode bracket screen underscore with that line of code. Underneath that, the pygame.display is just to change the name of it. So that is what you would call for the screen. Now we get to the game loop in a second, but we get to load images, and to load an image you need to have it in a file. This is one of a few ways you can do it. I think you can do it an easier way, I think you can do it a different way on another game, but this is the way I decided to do it today. So you need to make sure it's in the same file. So for mine, I have my images saved in an image file. You have to make sure it's in the same file as the thing you're working on. So if you're making your game, you put your game in a file, and then the images in a file within the file. So you just have a file inside a file. So for the background image, you obviously run what file it's coming from, so it'll be the image file, and then what the file is actually called. I don't know if it's show up, but I have mine saved as background. So it'd be background.png, and you do .convert alpha, which just converts it all and gets it not on the screen yet, but it tells it to load it. Second one is the panel, or if you saw from the image was the little bottom bar bit. You don't need this if you're making a different game, but it's just if you're loading something else, you would obviously need to load it as a separate thing, and you need to make sure it's outside of the while loop, or we'll get to when we get to that. And the file stuff underneath these, the defined draw, is actually getting it on the screen. So for the background, it's define draw, just BG for background, shorten it, and then screen.blit brackets background underscore image, which is obviously calling from the background image thing, like code at the top. And the reason we picked 00 is because you want it. I think 00 is top left, yeah. And just so you're loading the whole thing basically. If that's only if you're loading a background image though. Now we get to the panel, where it's the same thing with the screen dot blur, but you change it to panel obviously, not background. And here we get the screen height in the bottom panel. So for this, that's why we have the bottom panel. The bottom panel is obviously the little grey box you saw, and this is for when you want to load second menu. I believe that's what it would be, yeah. So the bottom panel is the first value is only height, and it goes off your second value. So for your height, obviously, I put mine as 150. You can mess about with it if you want, depending on what you actually want it to be, like depending on how big you want it to be, how small, up to you really. And you do screen height plus bottom panel, and this is for when you're drawing it. It does the screen height minus the bottom panel, so basically, it minuses from the screen height just so it actually loads it properly. I did this wrong when I was first doing it, and it would just load the background image because I didn't change it right. But yeah, so it shortens your background so that the panel's not overlaying it. That makes any sense. Yeah. So the background gets shrunk so the panel can appear. Now we get to the while loop. This whole line of code from here, this is what you need for the game to run. So you need to run equals true because you want this to happen while it's running. Then you get to while run. We'll get to the clock tick thing after. But yeah. You put your draw command in during the while loop because the while loop repeats itself and you want it to actually draw your background in your panel. And if this is outside the while loop, it won't draw anything because it's not inside the actual loop for the game. And the event, this line of code basically says when pygame, or for event in pygame. So inside the game, if it quits, run equals false, so it closes it. And then you do pygame.display.update at the end to make sure the screen actually updates with all of the things you've just loaded in. Obviously pygame.quit at the end, so we can actually quit after this condition is met. Otherwise it keeps looping. So the whole tick thing, this is optional, but this is a set FPS counter you can put in the game. Obviously right now your game will be static, it won't have any animations or anything, so there's no real point for it, but if you want one, you do clock equals pygame.time.clock, then FPS, so it's whatever you want, depending on your hardware and stuff, or if you want it at a set frame rate, and then you put it in the loop, because it's running in the loop, the clock.tick, brackets FPS, which will then obviously get the FPS up, well, limit FPS. So yeah, this is a short little devlog kind of revision style. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to not fully teach, even though that's kind of what I'm doing. It's kind of somewhat teaching, somewhat revision material. It's just, I'm not a very good teacher. Nor do I think I could become a teacher. It's just, I want to make these videos to help people remember things. Not to theoretically teach them, although that's what I'm trying to do. I try to tell you what it does, why you need it. That's the reason I have comments in it. But it's more to just help people who may have not coded for a while, or are just trying to get into coding, learn why you need these certain things without going through a really long YouTube tutorial and not really understanding, because you'll mess up somewhere. The code's just here. I'll do one final slow scroll, so if you missed anything you can check. There you go. And a few noteworthy things at the end. If you're going to make a game, I would suggest making a file for the game. I've just called mine turn-based combat. Then put your Python file in, and in the turn-based combat file, put an image file where you can save all your images. You can break them off into their own files, like ones for only background images, which could help a lot better, but I don't know. It's really up to you of how you want to lay your stuff out. So yeah, anyway, this has been just a short little video. I want to do more of these because I'm very interested in Python and Pygame, and it's sort of different from the regular just gameplay of me playing games. So anyway, my name is Untitled, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, maybe consider liking it. Also, comment if there's any certain things you want me to talk about, or if there's any problems you may be having with Python code, or if there's just a certain game you want me to play, or content you want me to do in the future. Anyway, as I was saying, my name has been Tyler, and I hope to see you next time. See ya.